Good now, Revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
The Rise Up Morning Show.
Today is Wednesday, May 7th, and that means it's Web3 101 Wednesday. We're so glad to have you with us. If you are skeptical or curious about cryptocurrency, maybe you heard about Bitcoin or XRP, or maybe you just want to know if all this stuff is a scam, then you, my friend, are in the right place. Especially if somebody you know sent this show to you. I want to say, first of all, shout out to them. We've had a lot of reports of people saying, hey, I told my friends about your show, and I think they're going to start listening, so don't be alarmed if they mention my name or ask a question. And that's kind of the vibe here is we want you to get the feeling that you're in a great big group conversation in a real community of people who may live in different places, but we're all bound together by this common desire to learn about new technology, even if we're not too technical. Share what we know, grow together, and we say, rise up. The best way to get in touch with us is on our live show Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on all your favorite social media platforms. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, we do Rise Up After Dark for expert guest interviews and Q&A with our friends, and all the time in the Rise Up Discord server at discord.gg/riseup. Of course, if you need any of the links, you can find them wherever you are, whenever you listen, by heading to theriseupmorningshow.com. My name's Evan. His name is Alex. Our co-host and colleague Will is on vacation, but Alex, brother, how you doing?
Good, man. Sorry about the last minute. It was one of those mornings. Had to drive to school, and then, of course, you know, that delays everything.
No, I get it, man. You're a good parent. You are a responsible person. I appreciate that about you, and I have no problem starting the show off early. In fact, what I had done to prepare while we waited for a few questions to roll in was a little news headline. So let me remind our audience, if you are listening live, then drop your questions in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast or the YouTube recording, hello. Wherever you are, we hope your candles are green. Don't hesitate to drop your questions too, and if you want them answered in real time, let us hear it on the live show. Today is Web3 101 Wednesday. So if you've got a beginner question, then that's really the time for it. Although your questions are welcome anytime. We're going to have our friend Justin Vogel from Safary Club on the show later. But Alex, you and I had some stories back and forth that I thought it'd be fun to talk about. However, just because there's a lot going on, I wanted to begin with a little
rapid fire crypto news.
Hell yeah.
Man.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. I can hear the helicopter practically in the background. So it's Fed Day in the U.S., which means Jerome Powell is speaking, but the word on the street is don't expect a rate change. The market is already pricing in a 98% chance that the Fed holds steady. That's Polymarket has a 98% chance, but reports around the internet reflect the same. The real focus is on what Jerome Powell is going to say next, and who knows. Spanish bank Bankinter is warning that hopes for a rally might be naive because container imports are down from China. Powell, he's just likely to keep a cold tone on rate cuts and inflation. Meanwhile, global tensions are rising. Apparently, last night, India launched a military operation into Pakistan. So to our friends in Pakistan, hope you're well. There are some retaliation threats, and yet the market seems to be holding its breath. Crypto is up while equities dip. Bitcoin has climbed over 3% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum is up 2.5%. And the CoinDex 20 index is green across the board. This following the successful live launch of Ethereum's Pectra upgrade, its biggest update since the merge. We talked about this just a little bit yesterday, but if you want to learn more, a quick Google search will reveal that it includes 11 improvement proposals, raises the max stake per validator to 2,048 ETH, but ETH, of course, is still trailing Bitcoin quite heavily, with the ETH to Bitcoin ratio sitting around 0.019, like 1%. That's rough. Tomorrow, we've got the sentencing of Celsius founder Alex Mashinsky. This Sunday, the SEC is having its tokenization roundtable. You'll be able to search that online and find it. Usually they live stream in the afternoons, and it's like a 4-hour session, which sounds boring, but is honestly riveting to watch. They've had some really good conversations so far. Coinbase is sharing their earnings today, and then there are a couple of token unlocks coming up for folks like Aptos and SolLayer and Starknet. But we'll be watching the Fed, the fallout from India and Pakistan, and where Bitcoin heads next. Also, as a fun fact, New Hampshire has moved to allow public funds to invest in crypto. It has become the first state in the United States to do so. So congratulations, New Hampshire. Proud of you. Hopeful to see other people follow suit. And what a wave that will be. So anything in there catch your eye, Alex? Or have you got anything for us from the chat?
I think, well, I mean, the ETH trailing Bitcoin, that's a big gap to make up. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time, thinking about necessarily the relation between ETH's price and Bitcoin's price, but I was scrolling around and saw a couple charts comparing the two and like how they've kind of split over the last however long, and it's just not great. It's gonna take a lot. I think Pectra going well and making a difference obviously would help, but I kind of feel like network upgrades are probably not enough at this point to do it. I think it's going to need several things all working together to kind of turn that around, but certainly possible. I feel like that going well, ETH staking for the ETFs being enabled is something that comes up a lot. Yeah, I don't know what else would be really like big on the horizon for it that like would be moving,
If I had to add my hat to that ring, I'd say those things, but also some of these policy changes like we saw in New Hampshire. If and when ETH staking gets turned on, as they've indicated they want to turn it on, I think that plus other regulatory changes could help ETF inflows, which could be quite significant. And I also think, generally speaking, institutions, which are quite bullish, are not here in size yet. And ETH is the natural candidate for somebody who's got exposure to Bitcoin and wants additional exposure to crypto. It's the other category of one that has firmly established itself as something worth trying, as something that's probably not going anywhere. But man, I'm with you. The upgrades, they need time to cook, and price action is
not ideal.
I wonder if if your brains put your brainstorming hat on for a second, I wonder if in the near to semi baby distance future kind of a thing, if it goes as you say, right, if states want to get more involved, and we're definitely seeing that as a trend, like we said, all Bitcoin at this point, but with perhaps with staking enabled or something else like that, some sort of clarity around the possibility of a product like that being able to earn a dividend and pay out a yield, which I think would make a difference. Could be cool to start seeing like state sponsored validators popping up, like state run pension funds and stuff like that are allowed to allocate a position to it that could pay a yield, which would in turn secure the network, which would of course be good for it. I think the ETF staking is more than just the interest. That's the other big piece of it, is that right now you have ETF custodians not really able to contribute anything to the network, which obviously makes a difference. It's not how it was intended to be used and held. Like if you were going to hold a giant chunk for a long time, it should probably be working for the chain, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because people have established Bitcoin strategic reserve as this idea that maybe countries and companies will implement. But I think validators for countries and companies, that's a natural move. If you want to participate in earning yield or participate in influencing the direction of the network in favor of your personal bags, like why wouldn't you do that? It's like operating a Bloomberg terminal, but a different sort of flavor or variety of thing. It makes sense to me. Other thoughts from the comments on what could help ETH's price improve? Keith says, a miracle, perhaps? Solom says, maybe blockchain should slow down on innovation and focus on simplicity of use to move forward. And boy, I don't disagree at all.
I don't disagree with the desire to pivot towards simplicity. I was talking on Twitter with a number of people yesterday just about how it's weird that UX is not a bigger focus, that more people are not looking to hire UX designers and stuff. You know, whenever you see a position open, it's rarely UX related, and that's still a huge problem. But I kind of agree with William Quigley posting the other day. That was one of the things that caught my eye, was that he was like, what's been the really big innovation lately? I don't think there has been one. And I mean, I was thinking about it, and I think he's kind of right in one sense, that I think it has slowed. I don't think we've really done anything super earth-shattering. I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the, like, you know, let's do safe things and kind of play catch up. And the companies that are working on the simplicity stuff, the ones who are constantly dropping updates that do make things easier for people, are the wallets, which is great. I mean, Phantom does something every week. It's a reason that I'm a little bit of a maxi. But I don't know. I was sitting down and kind of racking my brain trying to think, like, what has been the big, like, you know, industry altering innovation that's happened in the last year. And I couldn't really think of anything specific.
No, I think the ETFs are the big innovation, and they're not so much an innovation for,
right,
in the sense that it's not a new instrument. It's just innovative maybe to have a crypto ETF. I also think that zero knowledge is innovative, but I think there's a lot of stuff that's happening like a layer below the surface that's sort of coming to fruition that isn't really available in a broad sense for consumers yet. Solem said, what is UX? UX stands for user experience. And when we're talking about making a simpler UX, what we mean is easier interfaces. Like when you go to the app for the wallet on your phone, is it simple for somebody to navigate? When you go to a crypto website, is it easy to tell what you're supposed to do there? I think one of our primary concerns is that. You look at something like Aave or Morpho, maybe you're doing DeFi for the first time, you want to be your own bank and earn some yield on your crypto, but you go to this website, even something as simple, seemingly simple as Uniswap. I say simple because the concept of changing one crypto token for another, that's pretty intuitive and easy to understand. Even some of the back-end stuff, like the idea that you might have to pay a fee. You know, some people have probably cashed in a check or traded dollars for euros or something like that before. And so when they are met with an interface, though, that's like, select your network, select your token, you know, connect your wallet, and there's no instruction for what to do, or if there are instructions, they're, you know, unhelpful at best if it's your first time. You know, it's not
not
no
intuitive.
wonder.
They're not intuitive to someone who's never used it before. They only seem intuitive because we're used to like the people who have been doing this for a minute are used to an awful user experience. And then when they see a DEX that's made it simpler, they're like, oh my God, the problem is solved. Why aren't the masses here? And because it still sucks for someone who's never done it before.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's a lot of think about the onboarding. I think about this all the time. Think about the onboarding experience from absolute scratch for someone who has never touched it before and is maybe a little skeptical about crypto. And I encourage you guys who have been here for a minute, and you know, the people who've been doing this for years, to actually think about this, because I would challenge that you probably haven't. I don't very often, not often enough. Okay, so you hear about something like Bitcoin or any other crypto, and it sparks your interest enough to where you're like, I'm gonna look at trying to get into this. I'd like to get some or invest a little bit or whoever, just want to like learn more. So what are my choices? I have two routes. I can either go the decentralized route, which I can't even imagine how awful that would be to try to navigate by yourself from scratch. So let's just completely table that one. Let's go the centralized exchange route because it makes more sense and it's a more classic initial onboarding experience, right? So you start with Coinbase. It's an American publicly traded company, and that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. But again, you're still a little sketched out about this whole crypto thing and what's happening. I need to verify my identity. I need to give my bank account information and connect it to this thing I've never used or barely ever heard of before. I am immediately depositing money. It's asking for all these permissions. I need to upload my driver's license. All this kind of stuff. There's 14,000 choices of what to get, and I didn't know that any of them even existed before I got to this website. It's extremely intimidating, and I don't blame anybody who gets to that point. You're like, oh, okay, well, never mind. That's a bit much. And so then, or maybe then they're looking at the fees and the exchange fees are high. So someone's like, just use a DEX. I'm like, up the fucking what? And then you go over there and it's like, just connect wallet. This is the first time I've now seen the word wallet. And I'm like, connect, what does that mean? Like my debit card? No, there's a whole bunch of other so I click the button. There's a whole bunch of brand names I've never seen before. This is what we mean by the beginning to like basic use onboarding experience for crypto. And it's bad because the public facing conversations now are basically twofold. You have people like us who sound kind of like conspiracy theorists if you've never had the conversation before, if you're not aware, and that's by design. For the record, let tinfoil hat for a second. Financial system is set up to make people who are trying to get out of it sound crazy. That's kind of the point. But then the rest of it is just like hyper politicized nonsense that is probably an immediate turnoff. And so like, why would you want to be involved in that? The process to get involved is very hard. Because you have to, you're hoping that you find like one good pipeline to kind of get you in and get you started and doing something safely and not immediately just exposing yourself to a bunch of scams. Your instinct might say, well, I'll check social media, but what am I going to do? I'm probably going to look for like the biggest accounts, which are usually the worst. The channels and whatever with 1 million+ followers are not the ones that are like helping you avoid all of the scams and saying anything helpful about, a conservative approach to getting started, all this kind of stuff. Like when you really start to peel back the layers and think about it from the perspective of someone new, it's awful. It's truly awful. And I don't really know anybody that's like doing a deliberate job to address the stigma and the from scratch onboarding experience. I feel like most people building anything in the space assume basic knowledge, which means they're not onboarding anybody new.
Yeah, or they are fixing the problem one step at a time without kind of rebuilding the house.
Starting on step 8.
I think there are some wallet companies, for example, that are trying to build a more integrated experience. Like we mentioned Privy on the show yesterday, that is trying to make it so that any app can integrate a wallet and kind of abstract away some of the language or interface problems that make it difficult to use one now. But there are other wallet companies that are like, no, we'll just, hi, we're MetaMask, we've got a new font today kind of thing. Do you remember the last meaningful update to the MetaMask user experience? No.
Well, and interesting timing because, my mom, for example, sorry, I'm going to keep using you as an example all the time because you're a great one. She kind of took it upon, and I was, after a day, this was kind of funny. After a day of like her doing this, I was like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And she was like, I don't know. She made a MetaMask. And I, was kind of just trying to do the very basics of it. And I mean, Mom, throw a bumper sticker in the chat over here, but it was not good. And then I was like, okay, it's been a minute since I've like really looked at MetaMask again with kind of like trying to put my fresh eyes on, because I really only use it to manage AVAX at this point, and I don't really do that much with it. So I barely ever touch it. And I look back and I mean, you're right. There's like a few like little color tweaks or maybe like a button scooted 6 pixels to the left or something like that. But like overall, it looks the same as it did when I got started, except now there's more options. There's more things. There's, the in-wallet advertisements for staking this and doing this, whatever. And it's just a hodgepodge. And the wallet works great. It works totally fine. Whenever I need it for something, again, because how many years old is my wallet? Great, cool. But like from scratch, terrible. And never really made a meaningful improvement ever once.
Man, I have so much sympathy for especially people who are like not technical, people who have some sort of accessibility barrier. I am reminded often of how difficult it is if you are not a person who sees, hears, has access to like your mobility. I think often about our friend Carol who has tremors in her hands. And I think just how terribly frustrating it must be to have to navigate mostly small devices and mostly small icons on apps and wallet interfaces when your hands betray you. Like that would be enough for me to just throw my phone. Of course, people prefer cash. The bills are big enough to go like this with. It's
Yep.
absolutely no surprise at all.
Well-
And I still am kind of waiting for an infomercial that targets somebody where it's like, I don't know, a 35-year-old white guy with a more conservative haircut than me in like a simple white shirt with khakis who says, "Hi, I'd like to talk to you about cryptocurrency. You've heard a lot about crypto and there are some scams and schemes, but did you know with just a phone call, you can buy Bitcoin?" And then it pans over to like, you know, a friendly operator with like a headset telephone. "Our customer service agents are standing by to answer your questions and help you get started now. That's 505." You know what I mean? Like the late night infomercial style crypto. Whoever unlocks that product is going to make
Bitcoin
an
on
absolute
QVC.
killing. And I probably am not the right guy to cast, but I hope you like the audition. And you know, my agent is Colors here in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you very much for your time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's going to be a killer product. Solon was saying, you know, it's only going to happen when the boomers are gone. If nobody reaches out to people in a way that's familiar with, they're not going to go to Mario Nawfal's Twitter space. I pray they don't.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't.
Yeah, don't
You
do
know.
that. I did see a very funny tweet the other day. Someone spied him from like across the arena, and he was on his phone, and it was like, "Look, he's about to scam someone," or like live Mario Awful scamming in real time, or something.
He's on a Twitter space right now, all the time. Oh my god.
All right. Anyway,
We did have a couple of good questions in the chat. Somebody asked about Phantom. Does it work well with Ledger Nano S? And that can help us segue into, from this topic, how do you pick a wallet? If you're having a tough time, the answer is it depends. The most important thing when you are picking wallets that work, especially if you're just getting started, I would say, is to consume some information intentionally about wallets that work for the tokens you hold, the networks you want to use. And if you don't know what tokens are out there, what networks are out there, start small, start simple. You've never bought a cryptocurrency before, you might consider buying a stablecoin. These are tokens that are pegged, we say, to the price of a government currency like euros, dollars, AUD, etc. There are many that exist, but two of the most reputable and easiest to acquire are Tether, which is abbreviated as USDT, and US dollar coin, USDC. You can buy these on any major cryptocurrency exchange. We would recommend something like Coinbase or Binance. These are companies whose job it is to help you turn cash into crypto. You can buy it with your debit card there. You can send money from a connected bank there. It's safe. They'll ask you for some information because they are complying with laws in your jurisdiction to make sure that money laundering and fraud don't happen on their platform. So you might have to verify with a government ID. You might have to give your social security number, which I understand can be a cause for concern. I hate that about banks now. But in terms of how concerning is it, it's about as concerning as registering with your bank. These are legitimate companies that take great pains to be legally compliant and secure your information as well as any institution. For all my decentralization maxis out there, you know, I get it. We want to own our own stuff, but this is a great first step to just start using the technology well. Once you've turned your dollars into stable coins for just a couple of bucks on a platform like Coinbase or Binance or Kraken is another, then you're going to learn how to send and receive, how to swap those cryptocurrency tokens for others like Bitcoin or Ethereum tokens. And you're going to learn how to turn those crypto tokens back into cash. And on that journey along the way, you can be researching crypto wallets because exchanges and wallets are two different things. Exchanges are places that create an account for you that you can access where they hold your money. A wallet is a tool that you use that is more like a mailbox or your personal address. Go ahead.
you know, I had a thought the other day that I kind of accidentally stumbled on when talking about wallets. Like you said, Coinbase would be the place that you would go to create an account to use that specific platform, which may be easier because it's a more familiar experience. But creating a software wallet is like building the account that you then get to take to a whole bunch of different places where you wouldn't need to make a fresh one. You make the account in one place and it lives with you. And because we've been talking a lot about, like, is wallet really the best word for what it is? You know, like maybe
No.
it's not. Maybe there's a better one, but like, what is the better one? And right now I've kind of got this, like, you know, wild hair that's just like portable account is not the word. Like, for the record, I'm not suggesting that portable account is the phrasing. But that's kind of like the way that I've been thinking about it lately. And I don't know, it kind of makes sense. It clicked for the conversation I was having, and I'm kind of fleshing that one out.
Yeah, I like the idea.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
And we had a good clarifying question here. How do the fees at MoonPay compare to the fees at crypto exchanges, or are crypto exchanges the only place I can buy crypto? The answer is no, they're not. But while you might buy crypto at an ATM or even in your wallet, like the account you created at a company like MetaMask, at an app like Phantom, they integrate with a lot of third parties. MoonPay is one such popular service, but often MoonPay, it's higher cost, and the reasons are twofold. Because you're paying for convenience and instant delivery. At a service like MoonPay, you're probably going to pay a higher fee, especially for a lower purchase price. Like if you're buying less than $100 of crypto, it's going to seem pretty disproportionately expensive to use MoonPay because they have minimum charges. Conversely, if you're doing an instant buy on Coinbase, you might pay 4%. But if you're going to buy by transferring money from your bank, you're probably going to pay 0.5% or less. And on Binance or Kraken, it might be 0.2%. And sometimes they have fixed fees, and there are ways to minimize it. But that's why we recommend probably an exchange for your first crypto purchase. I would say across the board, fees are generally low enough as to be negligible while you get started. Did you have a thought?
Yeah, just that I use MoonPay pretty regularly, and I've had the experience several times wherein purchasing USDC through it has been zero fee.
Okay.
And actually, to the other side, depending on the timing, and if you're moving, like because that's how I do my my monthly deposit into my crypto portfolio, which all goes into USDC first. And I want it like literally, and I got an exact 1-for-1. And actually, because at that exact moment, USDC was down, like 0.000001 or whatever its like little, baby fluctuation is, ended up with a tiny bit more. It was just like a skosh over, what I paid. But the fees for USDC specifically were zero. And I don't know if that's a constant thing or a permanent thing. I'll let you guys know, because I'm gonna probably do it again today here.
Okay. Fact check yourself, brother.
Yeah. Update incoming.
Yeah, update incoming. And the TLDR is the reason you use an exchange instead of a wallet is because, generally speaking, the fees are lower. They make it easier to turn your cash into crypto, your crypto into cash. There are other ways. That's the one we recommend, especially if you're just getting started. And from there, as you become more confident and comfortable using crypto, maybe you experiment by opening a wallet or two, sending and receiving your crypto to and from that wallet so that you can do more stuff with it. Another way to think about it is an exchange is like a place you go that is an all-in-one. It's like an airport. At the airport, you might shop for clothes, you might get a bagel, you might have some entertainment, buy a magazine or a book, but you're going there to go somewhere else. The wallet you have is like the car that you own that will take you many places you want to go. The airport might only go to major cities, but your car, man, there's a road to go just about anywhere. You can go to Alex's house, you can go to the dog park, you can go to any of all the Starbucks in the world. And similarly, while Coinbase might allow you to earn some interest on your crypto for keeping it with them, that's like their crypto lending spot. If you wanted to go to another place, anywhere, have the freedom to choose to lend your crypto on Aave or Morpho or swap it on this or that exchange, you would need to have your own car. You'd need to have your own wallet. And in order to figure out the wallet that's best for you, you might just Google cryptocurrency wallets. And honestly, any of the top ones are going to be fine, reputable, safe. From there, the question is, which one supports the tokens and networks you want to use, which you can find at their website? And which one seems easiest for me to use consistently well? Because if it's hard for you to use it, it's not going to be safe for you. You can look at YouTube tutorials. Spend 5 minutes a day, do one a day, just checking out, what's this wallet like? How does it work? I think that's a good place to start. And there were lots of little jargon words that I said there and lots of questions to ask along the way that you could come to the Rise Up Morning Show and ask, or jump in the Discord and ask. But Alex, do you have any other tips, tricks?
Yeah. So there was the 2 questions that came through that I think we haven't said in a minute. Why are we recommending that someone start with a stablecoin instead of something else? And we really there's a kind of it's a multi-prong answer on that one. And then, you know, to niche it down a little harder, why would you pick USDC over Tether?
Yeah.
Or another competitor? So to get us started, stablecoins for me, like why would I start with a stablecoin? It's really it's three-ish key reasons. One, it's a token at the end of the day. And one of the things that you need to become comfortable with if you want to use this stuff and this technology safely is the basic process of handling tokens, receiving them, sending them, keeping them. It's preferable, in my opinion, to start that with one that is not changing in value all the time, which just adds another kind of layer of stress that, you know, maybe you don't want to deal with right now. You could, like, to be clear, you can absolutely skip that step. If you're like, I don't care, I would rather just like own some Bitcoin and learn that way. Cool, great. As long as it's a conscious decision, I've got no issue with that at all. I choose a stablecoin just because I don't want to like make the decision to buy something volatile under pressure, and I don't want to be hindered from beginning the learning journey because of current price action of a volatile currency. So I'd start with the stablecoin. It's flat. It's easy to start with. It's going to be the same all the time. The next big reason is velocity. This increases the speed with which I can do something. If I have the stablecoin and I'm learning and I feel better and good and I'm like, okay, cool, you know, I want to exchange it for, you know, I really like this network. Maybe I started with my USDC or whatever on Solana or Polygon or Avalanche or Ethereum or something like that, and I want to exchange it for something volatile, as is recommended in many of my videos. Like, that would be the next step, like practice a swap to something not stable. The velocity, the ability, the freedom for me to do that where I want is increased exponentially by already having it in token form, because now I'm not buying through an on-ramp as I would have to with cash. I'm able to just do the swap. And we're skipping a couple steps here, but just to kind of give you a big picture about the journey that I would go on with a stablecoin. And then finally, because you don't have to take it any further, because that's a great place to perhaps stop. I don't think there's, I think that is like the unsung hero of all of DeFi, is that you literally do not ever need to buy a volatile cryptocurrency if you don't want to. You can just turn dollars into tokenized dollars and use them in a better savings account that you have complete control over instead. And that's really cool.
Yeah, even if that's all it did, that would be, frankly, pretty revolutionary.
That would be cool as
especially if
hell.
you're using, like, to the question of USDT versus USDC, if you were able to use a truly decentralized stablecoin, meaning like something that didn't depend on dollars in the bank, but was backed by like a permissionless global network and took its value from some sort of democratic instrument, that's an innovation. That's like a never been done before in the history of humanity, wasn't possible until crypto thing. And I just don't think it gets as much attention as it deserves, because 1000x meme coins are risky and sexy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, it's because that's easier to talk about, because I've heard this framed so beautifully by so many just financial educators and economists and stuff like this. Like, when you're looking at that overall, you know, many people's financial situation is not ideal, and you're looking for something to do to help improve it, you know, because like I said, the system is not built to like level you up consistently. It's built to keep people where they are, because that's how it works, and that's how people on top make shitloads of money every year.
Yeah.
A key
Answer.
component of that is not knowing how it works. So go ahead.
Well, we just have some good follow-up questions coming in that are
Okay,
in that regard about, you know, how does it work? Folks would like to know our preferred platforms for staking USDC if theirs is just sitting on the sidelines. We've talked about that a lot before. Alex, you want to give just I'm going to stall. I'm stalling. Okay, I'm going to answer another question, which is if you have a small starter bit, like this person says, I have $2,000. That's what they say is small. So they want to know, if they were to put it in one altcoin, what would our advice be? And I would say, if $2,000 is small to you, is that because you are not earning money elsewhere? Is it because that's money you can afford to lose? What's your timeline? What's your expectation for what happens to that money? Are you investing anywhere else right now? Have you ever invested your money before? Do you have retirement set? How old are you? I would need to know a lot more questions before I could tell you with any degree of like helpful certainty what you should go buy. Because the truth is, if you're asking somebody else what you should buy, then you probably need to spend a little more time yourself learning what options are out there. Stablecoins are a great option to get started with as you figure out how cryptocurrency works. I would say to anybody who's treating crypto like an investment, who hasn't bought Bitcoin, that's like building a house without laying a foundation. I think, frankly, it's silly to go chasing any kind of return in crypto unless you have a Bitcoin buying solution. And there are lots of reasons for that we talk about on this show. But Solom sums it up. Don't be asking, what should I buy? You should be asking, why should I buy? And if you don't understand why you might or might not buy Bitcoin, you should start there because it'll teach you a lot and give you a good, strong measuring stick to hold up against just about anything else. Alex, was that a good stall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was just giving it,
He said,
giving it an extra second because
yeah. I was like, come on, man.
Listen, llama, you're
It's the
killing
llama. Save
You're
the
killing
drama
me.
for your mama, llama.
Okay,
Come on.
let's start somewhere else and then we can at least touch on it. I'm going to give you just a couple resources that I would definitely recommend with a full-throated endorsement to start with. So the question that spurred this was just, what would your preferred platform be? So check this out.
Do you need a drum roll?
Nope, there it is. Okay.
All right, here we go. Hang on. Here comes the screen share.
Okay, I am going to soapbox for just 5 seconds to say still, to this day, I've never seen a single piece of content that was not produced by me talking about this website, and that is insane.
And this website, for people who are not able to see the screen share, if you're listening in the future and want to play along, is DeFiPrime.com. You can find the screen share on our YouTube Rise Up Morning Show playlist. This is episode number 30 something. It's on your screen. You know.
Hundreds.
DeFiPrime.com.
DeFiPrime.com. This is not sponsored by DeFi Prime, but it honestly should be because I'm the only one who talks about it. It's insane that I've never seen anybody talk about that. It blows my little peanut brain. So this place is just a collection of some vetted DeFi protocols that fall into a variety of different categories that is very easy to sort through and kind of get like a bumper sticker definition of, and then a safe link to the protocol. And they've added a couple other things. They've got the blog. They've got some like airdrop speculation tools that are kind of trying to guess like who hasn't done an airdrop before, put a pin in airdrop. We'll de-jargon that in a little bit. Different projects, all that sort of stuff. So if what you were interested in was, like I said, staking, which is a hot topic, cool. Here is a full category of staking service providers. And here are all of the blockchains that are indexed on this page that you have the ability to. So, look up and see if one of these is the thing you're interested in, and then come on down here and here's some choices. A couple names you might recognize: Lido, biggest staking service provider on the planet. Anchor, gotta be, I don't know what Anchor's TVL is, but it's gotta be big.
DeFi Llama was working.
And yeah, if DeFi Llama wasn't still loading in the corner over here, I'd tell you. Marinade, shout out to Marinade, friend of the show. They were kind enough to give us a special link that you guys can use to get extra interest on your soul. And I love that that's the thing I get to advertise in partnership with someone, is like nothing to buy, just like a better place to put your soul and stake it and earn more interest than literally anywhere else on the planet. That's pretty cool. Anchor also gets a shout out because I just went back through the full process of staking over there, and holy crap, did they do a bang up job streamlining that. Like, it's great. I would say that this falls into the category of it's great if you've done something before, but I would say that and my mom could vouch, you know, with her opinion as we went through it, because we did it together. I struggle to think how it could be simpler from this. I think that you need to learn like a couple key skills to use a platform like this. And I think that they've done, from what I can imagine, like what's available right now, I think they've done one of the best jobs. Also not sponsored by Anchor, but it should be.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch more. You know, you can sort by all kinds of different stuff. So, you know, someone asked about best place or your favorite place to earn interest on USDC. You have either staking service providers that might offer some kind of interest. You might have a centralized exchange like Coinbase will pay you over 4% interest to keep your USDC with them. There's also something called borrowing and lending protocols, which kind of work a little bit more like a loan institution, except that you get to, you know, supply the money that gets loaned out, and in return you get the interest that would be collected by the platform to facilitate that loan. So, you know, that's what I do with all of it. So currently, and I can show you one more. Currently, I'm supplying USDC through a lending protocol called Morpho. And there were several jargon terms in that single sentence, but Morpho is a borrowing and lending protocol, and you can do a couple things over here. If we pop the app open. Nope. Get out of here.
That's not where you want to be?
No, this is. I have a full, there we go. Okay. So we can earn, borrow, and then a couple of other things. So if you started on the earn section up here in the corner, thank you, Evan. This is where you would go to earn some interest. And down here is a whole bunch of different options that are all kind of, you know, you can go through. They're all curated by different platforms. So, you know, these are good places to get some names to start kind of doing some reading about. So like personally, I use this top one here. Well, excuse me, not that one. I do use Spark DAO, but not the DAI vault, the USDC vault by Spark DAO, just because Spark is one of those kind of big names, billions of dollars of TVL. I feel less stressed having money there, but there's a bunch of options.
And just to clarify, these are independent companies who use Morpho as sort of like a playground where they can design different pieces of computer code that facilitate lending and might earn more or less interest. This is like a open financial playground of people who might help you lend assets. And it's not just going to be different kinds of tokens. You might have multiple opportunities for one kind of token. Like if we sorted by USDC, for example, we would probably find that there were many different pools that supported the lending of USDC. And the question becomes, how are they doing it? What's the risk to be assessed? But for somebody who's really just starting, you would look for, a stable APY. You'd look for high deposits to indicate that there's liquidity if you want to pull your money out. You know, you won't just crash the pool. And then you can do more research about all these kinds of providers to see what has their rate been like in the past. Do they have a good track record? Do they have a good reputation in the space? The same way before you put your 401k with, I don't know, Morgan Stanley or whoever, you'd research that company and see what's their track record like. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, the final shout out that I would say is that now that we're at this point, this is where, you know, the rabbit tunnels that you can chase down kind of spider out into 4,000 different directions. There's a very kind of like easy to summarize path.
Oh, damn it, Alex.
Well, you rugged me last time, so I had to get you. Yeah, you cut the screen share off early, and I didn't get a chance to
Sorry, man.
to get you, so I had to get you this time. If all of that, you know, very suddenly and very swiftly got intimidating, like, okay, well, now I'm lost, that's fine. It's completely understandable. That is the single biggest reason that I would say to hop in the free Discord, soon to be free circle, and just ask some questions, get some help kind of starting to read about these different things and why you might choose one over the other, what this benefit might be. There were some great questions about, you know, what about the interest rates? Are they the same everywhere? Is it different for different coins and different tokens? And the answer is yes, it is different all over the place depending on what and where you're staking or providing, whether or not you are doing something else with money, because that's kind of the beauty of this whole industry. There are a shitload of choices, and it's actually your money, so you get to choose what you want to do. That's really the secret sauce here.
Yeah. And if you're still, after you join the Discord, struggling, or you want another resource that can help you, then I would direct you to theriseupmorningshow.com. Alex has got a lot of really good videos that he's made. I've got a lot of good videos I made on TikTok about how to get started doing this. But if you want like an all-in one-place resource, then if you head to theriseupmorningshow.com, you can visit the classes and digital downloads tab. You'll see that we have a class called How to DeFi, Start Earning Passive Income with Crypto. It's a great primer on all of these skills with a screen share, a step-by-step walkthrough to go from owning crypto to swapping crypto, to bridging it to a different network, to providing with a staking provider or earning yield on something like USDC. And if that's a little deep for you, you might start with the Web3 101 course, which will help you become a more confident crypto user from a point of no assumed knowledge, like starting from 0, going to 60, feeling good about it. That's all there for you in the classes and digital downloads tab at the riseupmorningshow.com. And you can find the link to the Discord there too if you forget it. So in a minute or two, we're going to be joined by our friend Justin Vogel. He's a co-founder of Safary Club. We met him at Emergence, hosted by our friends at Stellar over in Prague, and is absolutely thoughtful, helpful voice in Web3 marketing. So I'm excited to talk to him about telling a better story. And as we pivot to that, let us know what questions you have, what examples you have. And I think this is going to be a fun conversation. I wanted to segue, Alex, 2 ways. The first is I wanted to talk about some of the kind of storytelling we've seen in the crypto space. But first, I wanted to go to our story. Exit Velo is asking, hey, have you guys ever told the story about how you met? You work together so well. And we talked about it on the show before, but it's not, I don't know, it's not that exciting. I don't recall with specificity the very first time I saw you, but it would have been somewhere on TikTok. In a video, on a live stream, talking about crypto. And I remember thinking you were helpful. You made things clear. I liked what you were putting down, and that was it. I think I maybe engaged with you in
Ruggedly
comments.
handsome.
Absolutely a killer. Stud. Total stud muffin.
Was rocking just a mustache at that point in my life, so you know,
every time I saw it, that's where the bumper comes from. Alex had this series that was called Rapid Fire Crypto News, and he would say
Rapid Fire Crypto News.
and he would just, do the crypto news in about 60 seconds. And it was a great little headline a day series with some nuance. And then we got in the Discord server together.
I did that
Faceless
series
Labs.
for 400 days in a row without missing a single day.
Man. And you had the mustache to prove it. Alex's mustache at that point, his face was just a mustache, and it was like you could have leveled a house with that mustache. Seriously.
It was a mustache that only someone who works in military aviation could have. And by God.
And by God, did he have one.
There was not a single person I encountered in my day-to-day that did not immediately know what I did for a living.
Yeah. Military? Oh, yeah. And then we became friends in the Discord server for Faceless. Our friend Mac Lorden opened a space over there, and Alex and I both became very involved. And just answering questions, sharing what we knew. It was the place we came together to start working on the story of the Faceless Many with our friends over at Faceless Labs, and the story began. It was a lot of fun, and what I love most about it is that it's totally repeatable. Anybody, anywhere, because of the internet, can do what we did. You can find your people, share what you know. We say, rise up.
And since then, we've been failing at startup after startup after startup together. And it's been a beautiful journey.
What if success was
repeatedly
the friends we
going
made
out
along
of
the way?
business over and over and over again. And so now Evan and I have just become very comfortable with not making any money. And here we are.
Oh, here we are, and here we'll stay. And thank you, my friends, for asking about it, Exit Velo, and for being the best part of the show. I think this is the product market fit part of our journey. Failing forward, Tori says. I love it. So somebody in the comments said, here's a good example, there's a good example. If you've got a good example for a good story in crypto and Web3 and marketing, let us know. The ones I wanted to talk about today were the Zerebro founder drama And I wanted to pull up an example of positioning related to Pump.Fun. But first, Alex, I wanted you to tell the story that you told me yesterday about Christina's Cozy Corner experience. Cozy Grove experience. What is Cozy Grove and why are we talking about it?
Okay. This is hilarious. So Christina plays, that's my wife. She plays this game on the Switch called Cozy Grove. And I tell her constantly that I feel like if you finally started playing something like RuneScape, it would blow your mind, because she doesn't like combat games or anything like that, but like I don't think she realizes that in RuneScape you could literally just walk into the forest and chop down trees and make little bonfires and like build a garden and just do that forever. And I think that would blow her mind. But so she plays Cozy Grove, and there's a whole bunch of like little tasks like all around this grove that you have to complete. And one of them is this wolf in a suit, and he sells you a cryptocurrency branded as such called Wolf Coin. And he tells you it's going to be the next big thing, and you can, make your resources. You can earn your money doing other things and selling your wares and whatever. And then you can buy Wolf Coin from this wolf. And you have to buy, so much of it and visit him so many times to get him as a character, as an NPC in the game, to level up. And Solemn knows where this is going. She maxed out his character level and he disappeared. And at first she was like, well, this is annoying. Are all the characters going to disappear? And I was like, babe, think about it. And she's like, oh my God, he rugged me.
I don't know how to sell this thing.
And so Christina's left in this game holding the bag of Wolf Coin, and this video game character rugged her and just completely disappeared from the game. And I don't know who built Cozy Grove, but I just want to give this the biggest of shout outs to one of my favorite video game Easter eggs that I have ever seen. It's so funny. That is so fucking funny.
Wolf Coin, baby.
Oh my God, it's absolutely incredible. And let me see, actually, let me see if I can find a screenshot of the wolf, because looking at this little bastard just makes it even funnier.
I'm sure he looks like the Vape Cabal.
Oh my God.
Wolf Coin. Maybe they'll bring him back with like a wolf in sheep's clothing coin. All right, here we go.
Here he is. Okay.
If you're missing the screen share, once again, you got to come to YouTube. Check out the recording, theriseupmorningshow.com. That's all you got to search to see us on every social. Oh my gosh. Look at this guy.
This is Clyde Wallace, the dev. The dev of Wolfcoin. It's going to be the next big thing.
He's even got a suit, man.
Dude, he is a legitimate businessman, Evan. All right? And the second you max him out, he disappears with your money.
Here's what I want to know, though, is there a Clyde Wallace or Wolf Coin on, like, Dex Screener? I'm going to have to check. Somebody check for us and let us know if there's actually a Wolf Coin. And if there's not, I feel like we should launch a Cozy Grove coin for all the people who got rogued. We can airdrop it to them.
But don't worry, there is some utility to Wolf Coin. You can buy like a couple. Casey says I'd let him rug me. You can buy a couple like little things like from his shop. So like it's one of those utilities where the utility is like buying some random bullshit.
Tell me why. Oh my God, I absolutely love it. We were saying, Christina and the other players who've been rugged by the wolf, maybe they can do it like a CTO.
I know.
Give it additional utility.
Wolf Coin.
Yeah. Just start a co-op for people who will accept it for payments. I don't know. It could be the move. Could be the move.
So funny.
More utility than most coins IRL. Oh no. Alex, we do have some other meme coin news that you broke to me yesterday when you told me that the founder of Zerebro, which for folks who don't know, is one of the hype AI agents that came out last year and could talk to you on crypto Twitter and could answer questions for you, and was paired with its own token that people could buy to speculate on the success of this agent. Essentially, a meme coin whose utility was, we got an AI agent that's a little more specific than GPT that you can talk to. Well, It gained a lot of notoriety and attention, and the founder yesterday, Alex, 2 days ago,
2 days ago,
performed what appeared to be an act of suicide on a live stream on Pump.fun, was it? Or was it somewhere else?
Yeah, so Pump.fun, have we learned anything yet?
Apparently,
You
no.
put live streaming up. It was one of the worst things anyone's ever seen in the entire industry. You took it down, and now it's back, and this happened. Like, can you learn a goddamn lesson? Like, what does the lesson need to do? Like, why is this a thing? Why are we still doing this? Anyway, yes, that is what he appeared to do, and of course, launched a meme at the same time, labeling himself as becoming the permanent floor. And then the suspicion, thank you, the suspicion here is that it was all fake. And, you know, the owner wallet was found to continue to be moving tokens after the event. And, you know, here we are now, mostly settled on the fact that it was a hoax. I have not seen like 100% final confirmed proof, although many have said like it's pretty conclusive.
The post that I saw seemed to indicate that, again, like you say, not verified, that it was a hoax because the San Francisco Chronicle published his obituary but revoked it after they admitted there was no proof of death. Mm-hmm. And there is a screenshot circulating that appears to be a message from this fellow detailing like why he chose to do this. He called it pseudo-cide and explained the pressure he felt of robbery, of physical harm, since that he launched projects that brought him to notoriety and brought him a little money and fame. He'd been threatened, and decided to tell his friends and family of what he was going to do, prepared with law enforcement, and then made a permanent exit from public life and fame in order to continue my artistic endeavors anonymously under pseudonyms. And so that appears to be the story. We're waiting for confirmation, but like Alex said, what better way to commemorate it if you're a meme coin founder than to launch a meme coin, the LL Jeffy coin, his so-called legacy coin, pumped, dumped, and now folks are just asking themselves, why?
Not ideal.
Yeah. I did see this when I was researching that story, though, Alex, that somebody else had created a token launchpad that they are calling Antifun. And I thought this was such a good example of marketing done well, like effective positioning. Everybody knows Pump.fun if you've been in the crypto space for a minute. Hyper casino-esque meme coin launchpad. And this one is Antifun, poking shade at their name. Anti-sniper, meaning you can't just grab a contract address and buy it earlier than other people. Everybody buys at the same time, you know, in the order you submit, you will be fulfilled. Anti-MEV, meaning maximum extractive value launchpad. They say where the vape cabal goes to die. And I just thought this was such good positioning in a world where Pump.fun has become notorious, where everybody is so tired of meme coins pumping and dumping and pumping over again, that they could capitalize on something like this just seemed, frankly, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I said, my takeaway was that this is a joke. I mean, this is pathetic. It speaks to a number of issues. And at the end of the day, get your shit together, Pump.fun. Because this feature does not need to exist. I'm sorry. Like we've now proven 2 times back to back in very quick succession that this doesn't work. So what else do you need to see before you're like, okay, this is a failed experiment. We're going to move on and do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely time. Our space is ready for it. And speaking of time, it's perfect timing to introduce our friend, Justin. Justin is the co-founder of Safary Club and is, more than anybody else perhaps at this moment in time on crypto Twitter, doing a great job to tell a better story. And you know, that's our whole thing here. So I want to say, without any further ado, Justin, thanks for making time to come on the show. Welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. For folks who are listening in audio land, if you want to see Justin's beautiful face, you can catch the recording of our stream on YouTube. Just search the Rise Up Morning Show. Justin, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself in your own words for the folks back home who might not know you?
Yeah, so I'm Justin. I am a marketer by trade. Before I got into the crypto space, I've been doing marketing for 5 years before crypto, mostly in tech marketplace companies. And then now within crypto, we run the Web3 growth ecosystem. So that is both a community of the top marketers in crypto. And then also we run a marketing platform where we help marketing teams understand their customers and get in touch with them in new ways. And then finally, we just launched the Safary certification, which is the way for the best marketing minds to professionalize their craft in marketing.
Yeah, very cool. Congratulations on launching, man.
Yeah, thanks. We have 175 students in our first group for the crypto marketing course. It's definitely been highly anticipated and much needed within the space to professionalize our industry.
Oh my God, so much. So I'd be curious to hear what led to the seed for the idea to start Safary Club, or even just brought you to start talking about this problem, Web3 marketing in the sad state of affairs, publicly on Twitter and on the internet.
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2021, which is the height of the last bull market. And coming in as a marketer, I was fascinated that nobody was talking about crypto marketing, right? All these companies in crypto were growing like crazy in 2021, but nobody was talking about how they were growing or why they were growing. And so that was a sort of intellectual curiosity for me. And so I started trying to find as many of these crypto marketers as I could to learn what makes crypto marketing different than in Web 2. And so I started there. And as I started meeting more and more of these crypto marketers, it became clear that not only was there not a space publicly for people to talk about crypto marketing, but there wasn't a space privately to talk about it either. And that was in particular a time in which, you know, the bull market was starting to end and starting to cool off, and a lot of marketers knew that they couldn't deploy the same types of like hype-driven strategies anymore once we transitioned into the bear market, and we're really looking for ways to drive sustainable growth for the first time. And so they wanted a real community of people that they saw as their peers that they could talk to about these sort of critical issues of like, what does sustainable growth marketing look like in crypto? And that's how we began. So it began with a lot of like me interviewing different marketers, and then we launched Safary Club as an initial group of 40 people to share their ideas and stories, and we've slowly expanded our community from there. So a little over 3 years later, the community is 350 people, but we've intentionally kept it very, very small and close-knit over time. I'm a fundamental believer that a community is not a community unless people know each other personally. So I just don't believe that you can truly meet people in like a 10,000 or 100,000 person community, like we saw many of the communities being structured in 2021 and today. So that's why we've intentionally kept things small, but we have massive mind share from a very small community.
Can you talk a little about the decision to do that and how it has happened over time? Like, what does the container look like? You have a really great approach to community building, to cohort-based education. It's something we're trying to do better at in our own community, is give people the tools that they need, equip them with relationships. But like, what does it look like? How do you use different platforms, and how do you foster those relationships and those connections through a cohort at Safary Club?
Yeah, I've become a strong believer that everything, excuse me, everything stems from the way that you design a community. So a lot of the communities in 2021 were large, they were open, in a Discord, a lot of text that you had to read through. And for me, that just didn't seem like the ideal way to structure a community. Also, is Evan frozen? Okay. Should I continue?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so as a result of that, you know, I thought to myself, what is the best way to basically do the opposite of all of that? I think that one thing in marketing is that people like novelty, people like whatever is different from what they're seeing today. And so what I was seeing in 2021 was large discords, text-based, open. And so Safari, I basically did the opposite of each of those things. Small, closed, and audio-based. So basically the way that we designed Safari's community from the beginning was thinking about how can we provide the maximum value to a growth leader in the shortest amount of time. So instead of spending hours like scrolling through text, we basically said the way that you get value from Safari is on this 45-minute call that we host on Tuesday mornings. And that 45-minute call always happens on Tuesday mornings at the same time. So this becomes a ritual, right? And a ritual is important because you know that if you forget about Safari for the next 6 months, and then you want to dive back in, there will be a call on Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. ET, now and until forever. So that was sort of created this ritual and this clear way for people to engage. I think the other mistake that a lot of people create with communities is they try to do everything. So they're like, you can engage in this way and that way, this other way, this other way. And that just really overwhelms people versus for us to say like, the way you engage is this way, this one thing. There are other opportunities as well that will pop up because we believe, when you bring together a great group of people, they'll find other ways to create value for each other and bring value for each other. But the core thing is still the same. It's like the core thing is the calls, and then everything stems from that if you want to, be more involved.
No, I think that's such a good point. One of the things that Evan and I have long held as like a core belief in the idea of building a community is that if everyone who's there is not empowered, feels kind of like a cheesy word, but it's sort of true. It's sort of the best one for it, right? If everyone there feels empowered to like speak up and answer someone else's question if they know, or contribute to the conversation more meaningfully than just kind of sitting there lurking. I mean, speaking of lurking, that's like the best way that I've ever found to help people feel like they don't just have to sit there quietly, which is just not great. I mean, and of course, I think it would be Web3 of all the places that kind of try to bring that out, because so much social media, so many community gathering places and whatnot have been primarily focused on like, okay, yeah, we're a community, we're all here together, but like you're here for me, this central kind of like figure person, and you're here to listen to me. And it, the first time I really heard that talked about in a big way was Goodnow, talking about the way that he built and structured his community to really turn into a place where he doesn't even need to show up, because the value is going to just keep churning on all the time, and people know each other and they know they can get their question answered even if Chris is not there for the week, or whatever it is. And that like just exponential increase in availability of good information, helpful places, especially in crypto, to get feedback or a second opinion, or like, hey, this looks a little suspicious, or literally anything. The strength of that as an institution cannot be overstated.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that people think like, if I put a group of people into a Discord or into some other channel, then like if they're in a group chat, then it's community. And that's just like, I agree. That's definitely not the case. The way that we do this in Safari to like create these connections between people is because we have one of the advantages of a small community, and this is still a lot of work, but can be done with a small community, is that me and my co-founder talk to every single person that joins the community one-on-one before they join. So we do these groups of 80, we'll have 80 different calls. So my calendar will just be stacked, right? For like 2 to 3 weeks beforehand. I'm just doing like 10 calls a day with people. But that creates several different advantages. One, every single person that joins knows me, right? They know one person within the community. And then what I tell them these calls are used for is I use these calls to then match them individually with another person within the community. And then they have a call with that person. So what this does basically at the foundation is, when you join Safari Club, 2 people, right? And my sort of like community hypothesis here is that if you meet me and you like me, and then you meet somebody else and you like that person, if a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th person reaches out to you wanting to connect, you will have a much higher likelihood to say, yes, like I will meet that 3rd person, I'll meet that 4th person. And then the community flywheel begins, right? Of like people know each other, they know that other good people are there, and then great community vibes can foster. The way that I think about community success today is I want every person to say, I met at least one good person from Safary Club, right? That's like the bare metric success. And it's not, I want to put a bunch of people in a group chat to like listen to Justin speak. It's like, they need to have met another good person that they would have not met in another way. And like, that's that, right? And I think that when we think about in real life communities, of course, that's like the bar, right? Is like, you join a church group or something else. And it's like, not just for God, it's like you meet, somebody there or some group of people that you like, right? And you want to talk about that stuff with, or you want to talk about other stuff and you move beyond that. But I think that is the fundamental truth of communities that people need to remember. Communities are about people and about meeting great people, and everything stems from there.
I have to give just a quick intermission and shout out to the still like 100 people watching on TikTok right now. You guys are the real MVP. Evan's power went out, of course, as soon as we brought Justin up. So we are still live on YouTube and Twitter and all of the other places. So, if you're interested, come over and join us on those places. We're going to continue going here for another minute. Evan is going to close the live town in a few minutes here. Because it's it's still there. We're still technically there, but man, what perfect timing. So Justin, I appreciate you being a trooper. That was a little bit chaotic, but anyway, back to I did want to ask you, just because I think this is so topical. If I think about a list of terms, phrases, buzzwords in our industry, I cannot think of one that gets overused, misused, or I mean, literally just straight up used to swindle people than the word community. It's one of the single most overused words in the entire industry, right? And like, that's the joke, right? It's kind of the butt of all jokes in crypto is like, hey, at least we have community, right? Like, yes, we stole all of your money, and yes, this was a terrible business idea, and yes, none of us have any clue what we're doing, and yes, we could have just run a Kickstarter, and all these things are true, but like, guys, you have the community. And so that's why, honestly, like, stuff like Safary is cool, because it takes some grit to try 100%. And do it real and like power through that perception, because as you're onboarding new people, it's tough to communicate why this is important to someone who knows nothing about the industry. But then to the people here, it's tough to sell the idea of yet another community to people already in the Web3 industry. So I wonder if you could talk just a little bit about that process of like wading through. I'm sure that this was, front of mind as you guys were starting, and it probably still is, as you're aware of like how you maneuver through the space with your group. But I guess just kind of the general sentiment around the buzz and overuse of the word community in general, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We see this all the time. And I would say, like, my hot take would be there are probably 10 real communities in crypto today. And yet everyone has a community. I think that it gets overused, and that's sort of how I was positioning things a little bit different for how I think about our community and like what community success means, is because most people skip all of that. For them, community means 100,000 people in a group chat together, and of those 100,000 people, probably 95,000 of them are bots, or like joined the server once and like are not part of your community anymore. Right. But the reason why I think that this comes up so much is there are certain players within crypto that matter for company success that want to see vanity metrics around a community, and they continuously push this like narrative, like, oh, like, what's the size of your community, right? And these players that I'm talking about are most notably exchanges. For when you want to get listed, they basically want to be able to see, like, are people going to like buy this token or not? Are we going to get more users from you? And if you're like, if, like, I came to them and was like, I have this great community of 300 people, they'd be like, buy, right?
But
like,
that has got to change. I feel like we're on the brink of that finally changing, because I can't even, okay, I can, because I have very unique insight into this specific type of community building. But like when I'm talking to somebody, a big Web3 brand about like why it would be more worth it to sponsor the show or to work with us specifically, that's the case. It's like, you guys can't even fathom the difference in if we just stick to basic marketing lingo and metrics that you as a company can understand. Let's talk about the value of the conversion of a group of 350 real people who are really interested in learning something new, using something new. We say in our space all the time that, what we want to do is learn to level up from just being in crypto to buy tokens and then sit on them and hope. Like, there's so much shit we can do with these things. I want to know what I can do with it. So like the conversion rate is just night and day compared to somebody 100%. With 1 million followers who are just like looking for the next 100x. And it's like, nah, this new wallet, it's not going to 100x for me. Why the hell would I explore this new wallet? But when you have people who are like, I'm showing up every goddamn day, I'm here to learn something, I'm taking notes, I'm ready to use something new, I am going to be on the bleeding edge of this industry. I mean, dude, I'm preaching the choir here, but like the power of that cannot be overstated. Like I yearn for the day when the big brands and the big companies realize that we've never actually really onboarded anybody just tweeting into this echo chamber over and over and over again, picking these gigantic KOLs with 300,000 botted followers and terrible engagement. Maybe that's not the best way to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or more. When instead I could sponsor a group or an organization or work with someone like Safary to get real meaningful conversion with a few hundred people who could become just like such integral members of whatever our project or ecosystem is. I mean, dude, right? That's why we do it every day, right?
Yeah. I think some communities have been successful at this.
Sure.
I think in my mind, one of the most successful has probably been SheFi. Do you know SheFi?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a huge Maggie fan.
Yeah. I think that she's done a particularly good job of their course costs $800. That's largely inaccessible to probably most people. However, then they get brands to subsidize that through scholarships. And I haven't heard Maggie's value prop to these brands, but I would envision is basically something along the lines of like, we'll onboard like 500 women into your ecosystem and get them to test out different crypto mechanisms and truly onboard into crypto. This group of people, and this is the type of people that you want in your ecosystem. And I imagine she largely sells like Arbitrum, Avalanche, Berachain, like these types of ecosystems, and they know that,
I would do. 100%.
Either it's a conversion piece or it's a brand play, right? Of like, we want more women in crypto, and now we're going to get 500 women in crypto to start, tinkering around with our platform. And the honest truth is probably like, even for a small community, in terms of real users, 500 people is probably very meaningful, even for a large ecosystem.
Well, it changed. First of all, welcome back, Evan. So nice
Thank
of you to come back. We managed to bridge the gap nicely, but you missed some good stuff. But no, Justin, to your point, I think that's what I would do, 100%. And I think too, it really changes the nature of like what's possible to advertise in the industry, because if what you're relying on is how much hype can you drum up through a high view count or like a large follower count on some KOL, your options of like what could land, what even has the possibility to land with that audience is so narrow. Oh, you're not selling a brand new cryptocurrency? You're basically toast and no one gives a shit about you, because guess what? 88,000 other people are selling a brand new cryptocurrency and we don't care about a single other thing. But if what you have instead is just a better a level up to some piece of the overall experience, then of course that lands to a group who's like trying to navigate through the space and like get better at using it and all this kind of stuff. Like, the options to like advertise stuff who maybe never had the option or the possibility to convert through social media marketing is all of a sudden there for the first time. And that switch will finish flipping at some point. And I think that, I mean, maybe this is cope, but like, I think that all of us will just be inundated with those of us who've been doing this for years will be inundated with so much work we won't even know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah, and I think one of the key pieces that a lot of these brands miss as well, which I think Maggie has, you have, we have, is who runs the community, right?
Evan, we were talking Shi-Fi a little bit here. Sorry.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
What importance does that company place on their own community? So one of the things that we see most often with a lot of these like 100,000 people communities is as soon as they set up the community, they outsource the community, right, to like somebody else. They hire somebody in some far off lands and they pay them no money to like run their community. And then meanwhile, they're like, community is like so important to us. Like we love our community. But like nobody in the team engaged in the community. It's like all run by like some like third party, like marketing agency or like just some random person, right? But I think what has created like really strong communities is exactly what we're talking about here is like, the founder leads the community. So like Safary, we've been running our company, like I'm like a company CEO of like a CEO of like a tech platform, but I still run our community end to end 3.5 years in, right? Maggie has been doing this for a million years. She also still runs their community, all these years in. So I think it's like when you're looking even like vetting a community too, is like, how much importance do they really place on this community? Like who runs this community fundamentally? Is it run by like core members of the team that are like trusted and loved, or is it run by like some random person that they like sent this off to? I think that immediately sort of like shows the difference between like communities that have like very, very strong relationships with their members versus not.
You may have talked about this already, but I feel like that's a secret sauce that accelerates the value everyone gets. Like if you're a founder and you can get feedback from people that you know personally and you understand like the context of their lives, that's going to be so much more valuable to you than a name on a survey. And conversely, when somebody in a community who might become a customer feels that you know them, you care about them, you're going to tailor the products and services you create to them personally, like that is so much more valuable. And all those people are like avatars for others like them. We talk about everyday people at all levels of experience being like the rise up community. And that way, when somebody comes into the room and sees somebody who lives in the Philippines or lives in West Africa or Canada or the United States and is 18 and just starting university or 82 and thinking about their legacy, there is somebody there that we've been in conversation with, that we know by name personally, that we can connect them with or that they can connect with and start finding products and services that might, based on those relationships and their personality, actually be a good fit for them. Even as we struggle, like, in the crypto space, there's not great product market fit for just about anything, so the relationship that you have is the thing that motivates you to like stick it out while it's tough to keep learning. I just think it's a secret sauce,
Yeah, I fundamentally see that as well. I mean, Safary, we're a B2B platform fundamentally. But in that context, it matters even more to have a strong community, right? The way I typically describe this to people is that what does like a traditional sales team do? They have to like go outbound to all these different decision makers that they want to meet and like try and like woo at fancy events and like get them to come to their happy hour and all of these shenanigans, right? In order to like start to build a casual relationship with somebody. Versus Safary, I have the ability to handpick all the people that I want to meet and build relationships with, stack meetings with all of these different people, and then show them upfront value and hope that converts over some long term, right? And I think that's the difference too between like a real community, a fake community. A lot of these communities that are getting spun up are like, we're going to launch a token in 3 months that we want to sell to a community. So like, let's start building this community now, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, when I'm thinking about building a community, I'm like, I want to help this person like get a better job or do this or that or the other. And then like a year from now or a year and a half from now or 2 years from now, when they think about what growth platform they want to use at that new job that they got via connection from Justin, they'll think to use our platform or for a competitor, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's a long-term trust building exercise, not like a pump and dump swap up that is going to happen 3 months from now when we teach EE. So it's just a fundamentally different way of thinking about what is the value that you can provide to your community and that your community is eventually going to provide back to you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful circular relationship. If you've got a question for Justin, a suggestion, a last minute good joke, or word of wisdom before we ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset, then drop it in the comments. Thanks for sticking with us. And be sure to check out all the links. We've got them at the show description below, and we'll have them in our Discord community as well so that you can catch up with Justin. But Justin, as we prepare for a final thought, is there anything that you didn't share that you'd like to share? And how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to learn more about Safary Club, to get involved with the new certificate, or just follow you personally?
So in terms of something that I maybe didn't mention, I think that community is fun, as I was sort of iterating earlier, fundamentally about people knowing each other personally. But you as a community builder, I think you need to also remember that your job is basically just to bring together a great group of people, curate this great group of people, and then interesting opportunities will come from that, right? Like my job is to aggregate and curate a great group of people, and then whatever happens, happens. And that changes every time that we do each one of our cohorts. So like the fundamental action is these weekly calls that we have, but then great group of people will be like, we want to talk about this thing, or we want to like create a book club, or we want to do, we're all going to this conference together, and like, we're going to like all meet up there. So I think that, it's to remember that you're like an aggregator of people, and building relationships with that group of people and individually, so that they trust that other good people are there with them, that they could meet through the community as well. So that's fundamentally what I would say. And then in terms of finding me, I am JKEY_ETH on Twitter. That's the best way to find me. This is me. If you see cute little me at the top here, and the marketer for marketers, that's the best way. And then for our brand, as you see here, we are Safary, SAFARY Club, CLUB. And that's the best way to find us, and the channels that we're most active on.
Beautiful, beautiful. We started the day talking about storytelling, building relationships, and we're rounding the day out that way too. Alex, what about you? Have you got a final thought, question, suggestion, good joke, word of wisdom for the audience?
No, I would say, thanks for bearing with us as Evan rugged the show. We ended up back in the right place. Justin, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us some of your time today. And of course, bearing with the kerfuffle of Evan rugging the show. For
Just
those
wanted
of
to
you,
see how you could go with the flow, man.
For those of you in podcast land, it's going to be an interesting recording, and appreciate you guys hanging out and bearing with us.
What did you talk about while I was gone? Did you just keep going? You just kept rolling with
Yeah.
it. I think Justin was mid-answer, like two pros.
Justin was great. Justin, you killed it, dude. He didn't skip a beat. We
Hell
just
yeah.
like, is Evan frozen? Yes. Okay, Raj, we good? Keep going. Full truck. But no, did good. We touched on, a couple of those things that are always front of mind for me as we navigate the same kind of space, working in the community building side of this industry, that like fighting the immediate stigma of the buzz phrase, I'm building a community, because it just gets overused, misused, used to cover up bullshit all the time. It's the ultimate bumper sticker. Like, hey, after I've just rugged all of you and gone out of business, at least you have your community. And, building in the face of that with that in mind really informs a lot of your choices. And I think that's really interesting to talk about, especially as we know that this is the way that marketing for products and services like the ones being made in Web3 really, truly has to get done. Otherwise, no one's converting, and we're going to stick with the same problem we've had for years. The same 3,000 or 4,000 Giga users on Twitter just skipping their liquidity around to different things for a few more months, and then moving it somewhere else and farming an airdrop over here, and nothing meaningful really pushing forward. So, Justin, I think you're fighting the good fight. It's I appreciate getting to work alongside people like you, just because it makes all of our jobs easier. The more of us that exist.
Yeah.
And so, again, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and hang out with us for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Justin,
Have a good one.
are you going to be at Consensus or traveling anytime soon that we'll see you again? No.
Nope. Probably next conference for me is in November. This is a no conference year after a crazy conference year last year.
Yeah, you got a lot to work on, a lot of cool products to launch and people to support. So
I think that's kind of the vibe. I was just talking to our friend Jamie Caruso, who's the creative designer for The Block, about they're the ones who managed the conference Emergence in Prague last year, and they're not doing it this year. Just didn't work out, too many other things going on, but they're already planning Emergence 2026. So excited for that one, because that was a fun conference. It was their first one. Definitely stoked to do another one. So we'll definitely keep us posted if something changes. If you find yourself somewhere else, obviously would be what is in November then that you guys have on your list?
DevCon in Buenos Aires.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Buenos Aires. Might have to add that to the list.
never
Alex.
been.
We haven't
Yeah,
been to Argentina.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
But Alex
that would
has
be sweet.
history there, so we might have to do it. Might have to do
cool.
it.
Yeah,
And of
okay.
course, my friends, if we do, we will let you know about it. We would love for you to come back tonight, same time, same place, different time from the morning show, but same time if you're used to coming to Rise Up After
Same
Dark.
time, same
We've
place,
got
different place,
Emily
different
Herrick
time.
from Foolproof. Oh my God, from Foolproof.
Fact check yourself, brother.
And we would love to see you there if my power stays alive. And if it doesn't, I'll find a bomb shelter somewhere where we can stream. It'll be a great conversation about what they're building. And then we will be back tomorrow to round out the week of Rise Up morning shows. So, my friends, thank you for being the best part of what we do and a true community. Until next time, everybody stay safe, be well. My friends, rise up.